Hello, friends, and welcome to Every Touch Matters, the podcast where we explore the nuances of professional interactions, diving into how every touch point, whether it's internal or external, affects leadership, professional reputation, and how we're perceived in business. And today I'm really excited to welcome my friend and guest, Shawn Hastings. Now, Shawn is a principal at CLA, Clifton Larson Allen, where he's one of the leaders of the Client Accounting and Advisory Services team, CAAS. With over 20 years of experience, Shawn has a wealth of knowledge in business development, sales, and consulting, having worked with some of the world's largest organizations. And beyond his role at CLA, Shawn has a really diverse background, from his time as an entrepreneur in the health and wellness space to leading business development efforts across a variety of industries. He has a unique perspective on how do we balance client relationships and business growth that will offer valuable insights for anyone looking to make a meaningful impact in their career. Shawn, welcome. I'm delighted to have you. Thanks for making it out.
You bet, Dave. Thanks a lot for having me.
Fantastic. Listen, man, I've always admired you. You know, we've known each other, I don't know, for 12, 15 years or so, and I've always thought that you get it. I really have been looking forward to having you on our conversation. And this is just a dialogue about something other than technical competence, right? The world of professional services is rife with technicians. Very capable technicians, but we all know that world is becoming more and more commoditized. You know, anybody who's out there and still in business is probably pretty good in terms of technical competence. And so when I started this business 20 plus years ago, it was the other side of the coin, the relationship side. It's how we engage, how we show up with it so important. So we call this program Every Touch Point. Every touch matters. What does that mean to you?
You know, thanks so much for inviting me here. I really appreciate the opportunity. And as you mentioned, you know, I've been around for a while, and I'm not a technician myself. So this is really my second career, right? So I got started in bio, came out, was a hazardous waste chemist, and then went back to school to get my MBA. My first job was coming out of that working for Arthur Andersen. And my job there was to kind of help our partners sell more services where they could. Obviously, conflicted out in certain areas, but just get them more comfortable, because there, and in all the firms that I've worked at since, and the one I work at now, CLA, incredibly sharp technicians, very, very good.
Yeah.
And in all of those firms, there are mostly the ones at the partner or principal level understand selling, kind of understand how to do it. But there's also those folks that need a little bit of a push, and especially those that are kind of in the beginnings of their career, where they just got out of school, maybe 3-5 years, they've been stuck on an audit, you know, on the audit track, and they've been really focused on the technical piece. But now it's like, okay, if you really want to grow and help the firm, right, grow, you need to get into business development, or I'll just say it frankly, a sales, just a sales concept. And every touch, what I learned early on at Andersen in watching those partners go to market and sit across from CFOs, CEOs, boards, they were very comfortable in just talking. Just having a conversation. And how can I help you? So just very comfortable conversations about, well, how can I help you? And that, to me, from an Every Touch Matters perspective, is super important, because you're providing value to that person, right? Because we're all people sitting across from you. It may not be something that your firm can benefit from, but the relationship down the road is going to benefit.
Yeah. Shawn, let's be honest. Most of the consultants who you deploy out in a billable capacity didn't necessarily sign up to sell anything, right? They signed up to be technical, be a subject matter expert, deliver the goods, and hey, if I do good work, they're going to give me more work. That's the mindset.
That is the mindset.
Do good work, I'll get more work.
Yeah.
How's that working out?
So there's two things that I have found in working with, being a part of a lot of really good organizations over the years in professional services, is if you can carve out time in your day or your week, whether that's an hour a day or an hour a week, to just focus on business development outreach, The more you do that,
Yeah.
the more comfortable you get.
Yeah.
The more you go on lunches,
Mhm.
quote unquote, the business lunch,
Yeah.
which I refer to as really more of a business kind of personal lunch, because you're doing business with other people.
Yeah.
The more you do that, the more you go to coffees, the more you put yourself out there, the easier this becomes. So again, getting back to that manager, a technician, right? It's like, you just need to start trying.
That's easier said than done. Let's be honest,
Mhm.
right? It's like pushing them out of the nest. You got to try some of this stuff. A lot of folks are a little reticent about that. What from your Arthur Anderson days? I'm an ex-IBMer, you're our ex-Anderson. Love that constituency. There was a rigor, there was a discipline, there was an awareness that we need to be doing this. But that was that world. The world we live in now is a little bit different. And so how do we message on that? How do we drive that into the mindset of these more junior
Sure.
billable resources?
I think programs like yours, the Every Touch Matters program,
Yeah.
is important.
Yeah.
And actually spending money and resources and time
Yeah.
on educating managers, those on a partner track or principal track, giving them the tools. Because, as a technician, they went to school for 4 to 6 years. So they learned 4 to 6 years of the technical aspect. And like I said before, I do think we all kind of have this. We know how to interact naturally. We should.
Yeah.
But we may have forgotten how easy and comfortable that should be when it comes to business for whatever reason. So we need to kind of relearn that and kind of kickstart that. And that's where the firms that I've been a part of, all of them have spent extra money on sales training.
Yeah.
And I think it's super important to do that.
I'm always careful not to use the term sales and training, because that can strike fear in the heart of the consultant, right?
Sure.
I don't want to be a salesperson. I just want to be a great technician. Now, if you want to teach me some of this relationship stuff so that I'm a little more comfortable engaging, interacting, connecting, paying attention, that's okay. And that's why we kind of call the program relationship expansion for professionals, not sales for consultants. But again, it's a mindset. You gave a lot of technicians a lot of credit saying, "Oh, they all know how to do it." Do they really?
Naturally, we know how to interact with other people.
Okay.
And that's really all relationship development is. One of the things that this type of training that you do can help provide is give us the freedom and the okay to take some time and do some research, spend some time up front prior to going to a cocktail reception, prior to meeting, with a CFO or controller that you might not have met, in the past, prior to meeting an owner, like getting to understand their business, getting to understand where these individuals were before, so that at the ready, you can kind of weave in maybe some sort of similarity, right? So that they can view you as another human, just like you're viewing them. When we're going through school, we're really just focused on the technical piece, most of us. And some of the stuff just doesn't come natural anymore. So we have to relearn it.
I get it. So you're saying, hey, kind of by default, we're humans and we know how to interact, but, we've been leaning into technical competence for the last 4, 6 years, whatever. That's my comfort zone. One of the things I talk about is process. Most of these individuals that we teach who come from a technical background, they kind of dig methodology and systematic approaches and processes. And so when we do our training, we teach a process. Supported by tools, templates. And that tends to give comfort to this group.
Yeah.
Wow, I never thought that
Right.
building relationships had a rigor and a discipline to it. And you talked about that. It's awareness, but it's that consistency that you discussed. Tell me a little bit more. And where did you learn it? Was it your Arthur Anderson roots, or someone else helped open your eyes to this?
My grandpa had me read Dale Carnegie when I was young.
Okay.
I might have been 13, 14. And he gave me this book. I'm like, okay, what is this all
Just
about?
remember, there's people on the line here who may not know Dale Carnegie.
Well, yeah, so
might want to unpack that a
so
little.
he wrote this book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. So I don't even like saying that, because that's really not the intent of the book. It's not like you're trying to win friends, but basically it's be nice to others. No matter what. So if you kind of keep that in the back of your mind when you're meeting with people, every time you meet with them, which in relationship development, business development, it does take time. But where I've seen the most success, to answer your question, is just build it into your day or into your week relationship development. Build it in there. So it's there. Just like if you're a technician, there are certain things you need to do to get a tax return done. You have a checklist of things that you need to do.
Yeah.
This is the same thing, right? And if you dovetail it or do it in conjunction with a CRM tool that you're using, then that just further enhances it, and it helps you remember, if you're using the tool correctly, what you have to do. So it doesn't become this, gosh, what am I going to do today from outreach? You just pop open your CRM tool, and it should, if you set it up right the correct way, you're going to have a list of things or a list of people that you can follow up on.
Okay.
Which makes it easier for me, and I'm sure it makes it easier for technicians.
So let's drill into CRM, okay? And there's a little bit of a misnomer out there, and a lot of people think, okay, I'm going to put the CRM in, that's going to fix everything, right? And it may drive a little more rigor and process, but it doesn't fix everything.
No.
And at the end of the day, it's not the CRM system that's talking to clients and potential clients and prospects. It's the human, right? And so there's skills and behaviors that are required above and beyond the CRM. The CRM is sort of the framework, but there's other things that we need to be bringing to the table,
sure.
right? And I think that's kind of rooted in your background. You talked about training at Anderson, what we teach and what we really, really promote out there. You talked about your grandfather and other kind of people who were influential. Somehow this is embedded in you. There had to be some moments back in the day that were anchors for you.
Everybody around me in my family. So, my mom, my dad, even my boys, my better half, they all seem to have a good way of letting things roll off them, right? So, meaning when they make mistakes or they hear something that they don't like, they're able to let it go and just carry on. That whole process for me of being a goldfish, if you will, if I can reference Ted Lasso, and just forgetting things. So you realize the mistakes you may have made, you fix those mistakes, and you move on. Doesn't mean you're not going to make them again. And being able to bounce back from that quickly is super important. So I look back to kind of them.
Wow.
All of those people that luckily are kind of surrounding me in my life. And it's like, well, what would they do? Well, they would probably just brush it off, learn, and then move on and, get right back up to the plate.
I hadn't really thought about the fact that if you have a mindset of trying some things and knowing that you're not going to be perfect, but brushing it off and keep moving. Yeah. And so sometimes what I've seen is we tend not to try things because I don't want to get that no, or I don't want to look dull. And thus, it's hard to service our clients, help them understand other issues and challenges and so we just don't engage. So again, you're making it sound really easy, but understand the mindset, and I know you do, of those that are probably listening in.
Right.
What's your perspective?
Yeah, so I'm an introvert.
Never would have thought that.
Pretty shy guy.
Yeah.
Pretty closed off.
Yeah.
I had my own business. I sold it. Successful business. Sold it. Was in the health and wellness industry. And I had never envisioned having to work in it as much as I did, meaning I had to step in and be a coach and coach others. So talking about fitness things, not necessarily that I was an expert, certainly not an expert in, had just learned myself and not having a ton of experience being in front of a group. And so what I will say is the more times you get yourself into that situation, the easier it's going to be. And the other thing I will say, and that I've embraced this holistically, is comfort is a lie. I've got two hats to say that. It's more of an ultra running type of thing. All your growth occurs outside of your comfort zone. Wow. Just take the jump. I mean, what's going to happen, right? So if you kind of take a step back and say, well, I mean, what's the worst that can happen here? just give it a shot. I guarantee the more you do that, the easier it's going to get.
Yeah. Clients don't expect us to be experts in everything.
No.
We put that on ourselves, right? I got to show up and have all the answers. No, you don't. And it's okay to say, hey, you know what, Mr. or Ms. Client, that's a great question. And that's probably outside of my area of expertise. But I know we have that competency, and I'd be delighted to connect you with those individuals if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's
Mhm.
about all we need to do. We're just
That's
teeing
it.
it up, maybe capturing some additional information so we can
Yeah.
bring it back and share it accordingly. But we stop ourselves
Yeah.
because we're so frightened that I'm not going to show up like the expert.
Yeah. The other thing that I didn't mention before to make it easier for folks
Yeah.
is to do it together with somebody else from the firm.
Hmm.
And if you can, and we do this at CLA where we try to, have our principals take managers on lunches. And it's precisely to get them comfortable.
Yeah.
And it actually, for you, if you're the one that's kind of driving the lunch conversation or whatnot, it gives you time to think, kind of reassess kind of how the conversations are going if you got somebody else there. So it deflects some of this fear.
Yeah.
If you're going in, what's the quote? We can go so far by ourselves, but so much farther. If we go as a team.
Hmm.
I mean, that's so true in this case. Most of the firms that I've been a part of,
Yeah.
it's always been a team sell, and that
Mhm.
team sell has really helped me because again, I'm not a technician when it comes to accounting or tax, but I talk about it and I know
Mhm.
enough.
You've been the beneficiary, as have I, of sitting at the foot of the masters, right? Learning from those who are more senior than us at Arthur Andersen, at IBM, going along on calls, as you were suggesting. Maybe we didn't even say anything during the meeting,
Mhm.
but we were watching and learning. We've lost a lot of that, don't you think? Especially with COVID and remote delivery and these moments of mentoring, of ride-alongs,
Mhm.
they're fewer, don't you think?
I think they're fewer
Hmm.
in certain circumstances.
Okay.
And I think we're at a stage where there's plenty of people out there that are having these conversations. Now, I don't have any data to support it, but the in-person, I think, is still as important as it was before. I think it's going to become increasingly more, meaning those that make the effort
Yeah.
to carve time out, to schedule meetings with people that they want to meet are going to win out over those that just stick behind the computer, stay at home, stay at the office and
Yeah.
don't do the outreach.
Whose responsibility is it, Shawn? Is it leadership, partner level to be the proactive individuals who are engaging that next gen and pulling them along? Or is there some responsibility in that next gen to say, I want to go along?
The accountability lies with the individual.
Mm.
If you want to progress in a professional services organization that's large, right? Which I think is what we're kind of talking about is like
Yep.
large that are growing, that want to continue to grow. You need to be proactive.
Even the partners, even the alleged mentors, they've gotten a little out of step
Yeah.
with, because they've been spending time at home,
Yeah.
right? They're not necessarily going out as much. And so now I'm asking one of those individuals, as one of those proactive junior people, bring me along, right? So it is a two-way street. And half the battle is just awareness. As a senior individual, I need to pull the next generation along.
Yeah.
And know that the firm is going to be in good hands when I move on, right? And then junior people have to just really be proactive. They got to put themselves out there. Just being that one-trick pony, technical, ain't going to cut it these days. You've known me long enough to sort of get where I come from, and what we've been doing for 20 years. And how do we activate the next generation of consultants and billable professionals to participate in lead generation and revenue generation and scale by just paying attention to what's happening around you, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to sell.
Right.
But there are opportunities. What's your take on this?
Yeah.
On our program, the content, the philosophy, the mindset behind it?
It makes complete sense.
Yeah.
And I've known you long enough to kind of get the gist of it. I've walked through it with you. And it's super important, I think, for that manager, senior managers that want to get to the next level of ownership within professional services to invest their time in a program such as yours. You have limited time, right? And this is not to say that, you have to sweat about every single touch point. It's so important that you don't do it, right? You still have to do it, right? And if it doesn't go as well as you think it did, then, there's going to be another touch point. But you have to do the research, which you talk about. You have to do the research. You have to be authentic, right? You have to know when to say, I don't know the answer to that, but I do know somebody in our firm, or I'll find the answer for you.
Yeah.
You have to be reliable enough to, when you say you're going to do that, to actually do it. And you'll be, well, you're not surprised because you see this a lot, I'm sure. People fall down, trip over themselves for the basics. They say they're going to do something, they just don't do it. If you say you're going to do something, you sign up for something, you're going to do it.
Yeah.
And that is going to put you, I mean, it's easy. Blocking and tackling. It's going to put you ahead of so many other people.
People are paying attention. You say you're going to do something and you don't do it, it throws shade on you, right? We are being assessed and vetted and evaluated compared to your competitors at every point.
All the time.
Any other advice for the young professional, not in sales, more on the technical side of things? What advice would that be?
Yeah. So, continue on with your technical training, stay relevant, keep your CPA and whatever certifications you need for whatever you're providing. Go ahead and keep that relevant, right? We don't want to lose that. When it comes to relationship development, if you're not doing it, if you're not comfortable, then I would suggest you talk with your superiors and say, hey, this is something that I know I want to do. It's also something I know that I'm not comfortable with. Is there any sales training out there for me? And start doing the sales training. And then the other thing is I would say, ready, fire, aim when it comes to this stuff. Just pick up the phone, make the call, right? Send the email. Let's go to lunch. It's just lunch. I mean, it's just lunch.
Yeah.
If you're having a hard time getting out of the gates, right? Don't let that fear stop you from doing it, because tomorrow is tomorrow and a year from now is a year from now. And that goes by so fast. Time, we're not getting time back.
Yeah.
So just do it today and you will surprise yourself. If you hold yourself accountable, right, to X amount of touch points every week, then I guarantee it's going to be easier. And the more times you get in front of people, the easier it's going to get.
So just do it. Be proactive. One of the things I see as a bit of a challenge for that next generation is they have relationships, or they had relationships. Hey, I worked on a project and the client loved me, and then I moved to another project. And to me, some of the low-hanging fruit opportunities is just simply reconnecting with past relationships where you've got history with a particular individual or firm and just checking in with them. But because it's been a few years and I haven't done a very good job of staying in touch, people stop themselves. Oh my God, they're going to think that I'm selling something, right? If I reach out to them now. And I'd be curious to get your thoughts on that.
What are they going to do? I mean, if you reach out to them after 3 years, what's the worst they can do? They just ghost you. If you're a sound technician and you're good at what you do and you've done work for a client, I can guarantee you that if you call them back in 3 years, they're going to be responsive to your call.
I have found that people are generally kind of flattered. Hey, appreciate you reaching out. We're all human. We appreciated that history, that shared history that we had. Sometimes just sort of taking ownership for, hey, I haven't been real good about staying in touch. Apologies for that, but I'm going to be better. But that refresh of the relationship, what a great way to practice some of this stuff that you're talking about. Be proactive. Just do it. Any other words of wisdom, nuggets that you'd like to share from your world of entrepreneurism, from working with a number of public accounting firms, from your days at Anderson? Any pearls for us?
Especially for the younger generation, I'd say if you're being asked to go into the office, FaceTime is big. I mean, it's so much different over the screen than it is in person. On a personal level, don't jeopardize your health. Right? Your health is your biggest asset, right? We all want to live, a long and healthy life. And I would say, and you've alluded to this a lot. I mean, be open to trying new things.
Yeah.
Ready, fire, aim,
Shawn, thank you so much. Thanks for mentioning the health piece of it, because we do lose sight sometimes. And again, we've got the built-in excuse. I'm billable, crank out my deliverables. My manager wants this, my client wants this. And suddenly we find that, that regular workout routine or regular mental health moment is gone. And we're not in a great place, not only physically, but perhaps mentally. And boy, that's a great piece of advice in addition to all the other things you said. Thank you so much for
You're
being a
welcome.
part of this. I'm really, really grateful for you to come out here and join us on a little bit of a rainy day. But I wish you all the best, and anything we can do to help support you and your firm and your future, please don't hesitate. But I think there's some real wonderful nuggets in our conversation today.
Thank you so much for
All
having
right,
me.
Shawn, all the best. Take care.
You too.
Thanks.